Hello, I'm Sean Lay. Thanks for downloading the BBC's World Tonight podcast from Wednesday, the 24th of December. There's been an angry reaction from British and European politicians after the Trump administration slapped a travel ban on 5 campaigners for online safety Washington says have undermined free speech. I've been talking to an American journalist whose work seems to have helped influence the US decision. President Zelensky has, for the first time, indicated he's willing to negotiate over territory with Russia. How's that going down on the home front? What do you give the leader who has everything? Well, we have present advice from a veteran in the world of corporate and diplomatic gift-giving, plus a few gaffes worth avoiding. Into the woods we go with David Sillitoe and Charles Brandreth to celebrate 100 years of Winnie the Pooh. And we're live in Bethlehem, where Christmas Day has arrived. In Bethlehem, it's a few minutes after midnight, and in the Church of the Nativity, the first Mass of Christmas has been celebrated. We'll go live to Bethlehem later in the programme. But first, the US government is imposing a travel ban on 5 prominent free speech campaigners in Europe and the UK because of their role in shaping laws intended to improve online safety. The Trump administration says the 5, 2 of whom are British, have interfered with freedom of speech in the United States. Here's the BBC's Greg Mackenzie.
The 2 Britons targeted are Imran Ahmed, head of the Centre for Countering Digital Hate, and Claire Melford, who's the chief executive of the Global Disinformation Index. Now, the US claims that they've sought to pressure American tech companies and advertisers into suppressing lawful speech, calling them part of a global effort to censor US online platforms. The reaction in Europe has been furious. France's President Emmanuel Macron launched a blistering attack, accusing Washington of intimidation and coercion. Now, the EU has demanded explanations from Washington, pointing to its right to regulate US tech firms, including recent fines against platforms under EU law. Now, the UK government has responded tonight. In a statement, a spokesman said the UK is fully committed to upholding the right to free speech. While every country has the right to set its own visa rules, we support the laws and the institutions which are working to keep the internet free from the most harmful content. It goes on to say social media platforms should not be used to disseminate child sex abuse material, incite hatred and violence, or spread fake information and videos for that purpose.
Greg Mackenzie. One of those whose journalism was influential on the Trump administration's decision is Paul Thacker, a former congressional investigator. He's written a report on the CCDH, that's the Centre for Countering Digital Hate, which is based in Washington, D.C., but has a British director, Imran Ahmed. That report was cited by Sarah Rogers, Undersecretary for Public Diplomacy at the US State Department, in a post on X on Tuesday night. Paul Thacker's been telling me what got him interested in researching the CCDH.
They were started by Morgan McSweeney, who's the chief of staff to your prime minister, and a guy named Imran Ahmed, who's a Labour Party political operative. And they used it initially as a vehicle to bash the more liberal wing of the Labour Party, the Jeremy Corbyn wing. And then once they helped to push Jeremy Corbyn out, they landed in Washington in 2021, and they started becoming a tool of the Democratic Party. So that's where I picked them up at the time. And it's very clear that they use this idea of whatever it is they're going after as a precept to go after whoever is deemed some sort of political enemy.
I suppose the question is, why does it matter? They're just an organisation like any other organisation. They campaign on things, they have an agenda.
I think that the difference is that this group was founded by political operatives within Labour, particularly Labour Together, to use the idea of misinformation as a cudgel to bang up against whoever they deem to be an enemy. So it's just not quite the same as a regular nonprofit that's interested in doing good stuff. The other thing, too, is that we've never really known where their money comes from. And what they're doing is they're attacking our constitutional First Amendment rights to have free speech.
This is at the core of this, isn't it? And in a sense, it's at the core of the decisions that the Trump administration has made and that have been announced today, the visa bans. For example, if you look at the people who set up the European Union's Digital Act, that's about things that are published in Europe. Their writ doesn't run to the United States. So why should the United States feel that free speech in the United States is somehow under attack by these people?
Well, I'll give you an example. Thierry Breton was in charge in Brussels on this issue, sent a letter to Elon Musk threatening him with legal action for hosting an interview with Donald Trump. I don't know how you conclude that that is anything other than an attempt to interfere in United States elections. And we're not going to tolerate that in the United States. That's just not going to be tolerated.
Is this not a case of very wealthy and influential people who have the president's ear getting people who are threatening their businesses or might potentially threaten their businesses effectively taken down? In other words, it's about the power of the state being used to advance somebody's commercial interest.
I think it's much more a fundamental difference between the United States and Europe now on what constitutes, free speech. There's laws that came online in the UK when it was first being proposed. The first person to testify in front of Parliament actually was Imran Ahmed of the Center for Countering Digital Hate. My guess is that he had a very intimate work in helping to get that thing passed. He also has worked with Thierry Breton, specifically to go after Elon Musk. And it came out, from the documents that were leaked to me by a person working for CCDH, that their goal was to kill Musk's Twitter. And I just find it ironic that a British citizen would be trying to kill an American company while living in the nation's capital. Before Imran Ahmed gets deported, which I think he should be deported, he should be prosecuted for the laws that he's already broken in the United States.
There are laws in the United States. It is a nation of laws, as we were told by the founders. Not a nation of men, it's a nation of laws. The law exists. The administration should use the legal mechanisms, not use the visa route, which effectively means they can do what they like. They're not accountable for it.
Look,
you as an American citizen prefer that?
I'm not an expert on immigration law or litigation immigration law. So they say he's not allowed to have a visa. I am an American living in Spain right now. I would not engage in any kind of illicit behavior and then expect that I should be allowed to live in Spain.
That's US investigative journalist Paul Thacker.